is the day 2 for Pentesting interview essentials, and today we'll be discussing advanced exploitation and evasion, bypassing firewalls, IDS, IP systems, post-exploitation techniques and persistence, social engineering tactics, and phishing simulations. Then we'll be talking about interview preparation and mock test. So common pen testing interview questions, technical problem solving exercises, behavioral and scenario based interview strategies. And then for the career growth and certifications, we'll be talking in terms of certifications, that which certifications are best for moving into the offensive side of the security in penetration testing, right? So the very first thing that we are going to talk about is bypassing firewall. So we have heard a lot about firewalls. So we all have heard about firewall. So firewall is basically a network security device or a software also that monitors and controls the incoming and outgoing traffic based on predefined security rules. So it acts as a barrier between the internal network and the external network, right? Now, when we are talking about firewall, so how firewall does the detection, it will inspect the data packets traveling across a network and determine whether to allow or block them based on security policies, right? So it checks the factors like source and destination, IP address, then port number, right? Then protocol types, which protocol is being used, and the packet contents. Yes. Now, when we talk about bypassing firewall, then what do you understand by the word bypassing? So when we are talking about bypassing the firewall, it includes the techniques which are used to evade security controls that restrict the access to networks or applications. So firewalls, they are designed to protect systems from unauthorized access. So attackers and pen testers, they explore ways to bypass them for testing or malicious purposes. Right. Now, when we are talking about the bypassing, so we can do source port manipulation, right? Now, source port manipulation refers to manipulating actual port numbers with common port numbers in order to evade IDS or firewalls that we have, right? Now, you can also use VPN to bypass the firewall. So VPNs, what they do, they encrypt traffic, making it difficult for firewalls to inspect and block specific connections. So proxies can mask the origin of the traffic, right? Then uh, you can use something called port hopping, right? So continuously changing the port used for communication, it can help to evade the firewall rules, right? Then fragmentation. So fragmentation means breaking the packet into smaller format, right? So sending fragmented network packets can sometimes bypass the deep packet inspection, which is done by the firewall, right? Then you can use IP address decoy, right? Now, decoy scanning basically means, so yesterday we discussed about Nmap, right? That how you can do the scanning with the Nmap. But if there is a firewall in between, you cannot perform Nmap scan because it will block your scan, it will block your packets basically, whatever packets you are sending. So decoy scan in Nmap, it is a technique which is used to obscure the origin of a scan by making it appear as if multiple devices are scanning the target simultaneously. So it helps the pentesters to evade detection by IDS and firewalls. So What Nmap does, Nmap sends packets to the target from multiple spoofed IPs. Spoofed IPs means fake IPs or copied IPs. So the target system logs multiple scanning attempts, which makes it difficult to determine the actual source. The attacker's real IP address is hidden among the decoys, right? So the command is nmap-d rnd10, that means random 10, and the target IP. If I do the scan of a web application, let's say, so nmap-d rnd10 and testfire.net. Now from some different 10 IPs it is scanning. So let's see if it gives us open ports or not. So now while it is taking time, let me show you the other ways to bypass the firewall as well. So for finding out if a firewall is present or not, see you will when you will do a scan, right? Whenever you are scanning a web application or let's say network first, right? So if you are scanning a network, then it will find out your scan will not work, right? Now, when your scan is not working, that's obvious that there is a firewall in between. But if there is a fire web application, so what you can do, you can use WAFWoof, right? So offsec.com, this is a web application firewall printing toolkit. So if you are scanning a web application, you can use the WAFWoof and it will tell you whether there is a web application firewall present or not. So let me give the whole https colon slash slash www.offsec.com. Okay, that's an internet issue. Let me check. Okay, that's let me restart this machine and let's run it again. The internet is, I think, down. Okay, let's see now. Okay. w.offsec.com. Now let's see what firewall it's give. So it gave me the site offsec.com is behind security cloud proxy web application firewall, right? So this is how you can find out whether there is a firewall present or not. Yes, perfect. Nmap hyphen D, we were doing a scan random 10 test fire dot. And while it is loading, let me log into a website. So for detecting a physical firewall between the internet and intranet, there are some methods to do that, right? So you can use trace route, right, and give the target IP, right? In Windows, you can write tracer, right? Then using Nmap also you can detect. So you can write Nmap hyphen PN hyphen reason and the target IP. Let's say 192.168.10.136, right? So it can detect the firewall presence using the reason flag, and in the reason it will give you that there is a firewall present. Yes. Host is up, received up response, right? But if there is a firewall in between, then it will give you the reason why it is not able to reach there. Yes. So that's how you can detect the firewall. Perfect. Now let me start a machine where we can understand more related to the pen testing. Okay. Now we have a machine, right, where we have to do the scan. Now, very first thing what we'll do, we will be finding out the IP of the target machine. So I will use ARP scan. Okay. For those who are not aware about ARP, so ARP stands for address resolution protocol, right? Now, when we are talking about address resolution protocol, this is the protocol which is used for mapping or resolving the IP address to the MAC address, right? So when we are talking about address resolution protocol, what we have, let's say there are three devices in the network, in the same network, right? Now, device A wants to send some data to device C, but for sending the data, it will need the MAC address also. It already has the IP address of the target machine, but it will need MAC address of the target, right? For that, what it will do, device A will send an ARP broadcast in the whole network. Now, what is written in that ARP broadcast? So let's say the IP of device C is 192.168.10.12, right? So in the message that will be broadcasted, broadcasted means it will be sent to every single device in the network. So it will be written that anyone having the IP address 192.168.10.12, reply me back with your MAC address, right? So this message will go to device B. Device B will say, no, my IP address is not 192.168.10.12. So it will drop that message. Then there will be a device C 192.168.10.12. So it will say, yes, this is my IP written in the message. So it will reply back to A with its IP MAC address, right? So that is what, that is the thing, how address resolution protocol works. Now what we are doing, we are taking the advantage of address resolution protocol, and for taking the advantage, what we are doing, we are sending ARP messages for every single IP in the whole subnet. So I'm sitting in the subnet 192.168.10.0 subnet, right? So I'm sending the message to everyone in the network. What message I'm sending? That anyone having IP address 192.168.10.1, send me your MAC address. 10.2, send me your MAC address. 10.3 till 10.255. I'm sending it for everyone. Anyone who replies back, that is my target, right? So if I press enter, I can see, is it giving me any IP? Three IPs it is showing me. Dot one, dot two, dot 254. Now out of these three, none of the IP is of my target machine. How can I say that? I can say that because dot one is the IP of the base Windows machine. That's how VMware identifies my base Windows machine. Then dot two is basically the IP of the gateway. Gateway means kind of router, you can say. So like you are now connected to your router, right? Your Wi-Fi, and that's how you are getting the internet. Yes, but when we are talking about VMware, VMware is what? It is a virtualization software, right? Now, this virtualization software, what it does, it will install what? It will install a new environment in your system. Now when it is installing a new environment in your system, so it will need internet also, because we are creating a network inside the Windows, a small network, right? So how it will get the internet? So dot 2 is acting as a gateway, right? The router which will take internet from my base Windows machine, give it to the operating systems inside VMware. Then there is 254, right? 254 will do what? 254 is the IP address of the DHCP server. DHCP stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, and this is the server, or this is the protocol which is used to find out what? It is used to distribute the IP addresses to different devices in the network. So in the VMware network, we are distributing the IP addresses. So for distributing those IP addresses, what we have? We have DHCP. Now, let's do the app scan again. Oh, sorry. Let me restart the machine, because both of the machines should be in the same network. Okay, now we are done with the app scan. So it gave me 192.168.10.137. Yes. Now everyone got to know how I got the IP. Next step is we have to do the Nmap scan. Now the Nmap scan will find out how many ports are open in the target machine. So let's see how many ports are open. Now if you check the output says that there are ports open FTP, right? Then SSH, which is port 22, and 80. Yes. Whenever you see port number 80 open, the very first thing you have to do is you have to put the IP of the target machine in the browser and see what's there in port number 80. It is just giving an image and it is not giving anything. So it happens that it will not give you anything, but you have to check every time what is there in the page, right? Now, if you're not getting anything here, so you will right click, go to view page source. So here also we are getting nothing, but sometimes you get the information here also. Now, the last thing that you have to check is a place called robots.txt, right? Anyone who knows what is robots.txt? Now, robots.txt is a place in every web application where you will be basically using it for the crawlers. So what we have crawlers. Crawlers do what? They crawl the web application and find out the pages in the web application, that what are the different or unique pages in it, right? Then what happens is these crawlers, they cannot visit any place. So let's say we're talking about Facebook, right? So if we are talking about Facebook, so in Facebook we have uh, let's say a page, let's say Ashish slash images. So if you as a user go to Facebook, right, facebook.com slash Ashish and slash photos, so will you, should you be able to see the photos of mine, of my like of my profile, like whatever I have uploaded? You should not be able to do that, right? So there are places in the web application that you cannot directly go. So robots.txt, it is place in the web application which shows that what are the different places in the web application, right? Now the different places that are there in the web application, which are allowed and which are not. So if I write facebook.com slash robots.txt, so it will open the robots.txt file of facebook.com, but I think, yep. So for every user agent, Amazon bot, Apple bot extended, Claude bot, Google bot, GPT bot, Perplexity bot, Yandex, Yetai, then there is LinkedIn bot. So you will see that there are first disallowed entries, then there are allowed entries also. So these are the places where the crawlers cannot go, and these are the places which are allowed for the crawlers. They can crawl to these places, right? So crawler will first come to uh, the robots.txt, right? Check what permissions are there, what things are allowed, what things are not allowed, and then it will visit the web application. Now, whenever you are doing hacking, so there are some entries which may be useful for you, right? Sometimes what happens, these entries are not useful for crawlers because crawlers cannot visit these places. But as a user, you are able to visit those places. Now here, if I can see, it's written slash secret. So maybe there is a place with the name secret, a directory with the name secret here. Now if I write secret, so it's not also giving anything. It's just playing, right? So in port number 80, we were not able to find out anything related to which we can take the access of the machine, right? Then we have SSH. Now SSH, secure shell. So this is basically a protocol which is used to communicate or upload the like do the authentication securely, right? Your credentials will be secure, and this protocol helps you in doing the authentication properly. So here for the authentication you will need username and password. Yes. Now that username and password we don't have, right? So what to do? We can work with FTP only. Now in FTP, we have discussed yesterday that we were able to exploit a vulnerability, get the backdoor access. But yesterday, the version of FTP was VSFTPD 2.3.4. So that exploit was for 2.3.4 version, but here we have 3.0.2 upgraded version. So we don't have an exploit for it. Now what we'll do, it says that FTP anonymous FTP login allowed. It means that if you use the username anonymous, you can connect to the FTP. Yes. So now how to connect to FTP? Just write FTP space the IP address. It asks for name. So give the name anonymous. The password, we don't have to give anything. And it says login successful. Now, once I'm logged in, if I do ls, it is showing me only one file, which is with the name lol.pcap. It is a read, write, and execute. Like we have all the permissions for this file. So, can we download this? Can anyone tell me the command to download this file from FTP server to my own Kali Linux? Okay. So, the command to download this is get and the file name. When I wrote that, it's downloaded. Now exit from here. If I do ls, we can see the file. Now how can I open this file? By looking at the extension. So the pcap extension that you see, this pcap extension is basically an extension for packet captured. That means someone captured the network traffic, the traffic which was traveling, and saved it in a file. So for opening these types of files, either it is the extension cap or pcap, you use Wireshark. Remember yesterday we discussed about Wireshark. So you will write Wireshark space the file name and it will open in Wireshark. Now for the next step, what next step we have to do is we have to find out what data is traveling inside. So the protocol. Now here in the protocol section, you can see, oh, just a second. So in the protocol section, you can see the protocol is either TCP, FTP, right? And then there is FTP data. FTP data is basically the packets in which some data is traveling. If I open this packet, it says secret underscore stuff.txt. line based, and here it is showing me that there is some file with the name secret underscore stuff.txt, right? Maybe this file is giving us some hint. So let me open the browser again and let's see if this file exists or not. So 192.168.137 slash secret underscore. Okay, so it says the requested URL slash secret stuff dot txt was not found on this server. So that means it is not present, right? So in packet number 24, there is no data. Let's see if any other data is traveling. Next, the data which is traveling is packet number 40. Now in packet number 40, it gives you a message. Well, aren't you just a clever little devil? You almost found the super secret dir lol. Sucks you were so close, gotta try harder. Now, by looking at this hint, what can you conclude? What information it is giving you? Now, by looking at this line, can you see that it's written, everything is written in English, but the last word, you almost found the super secret dir lol. Instead of E, they have used 3. So maybe this is the name of the directory. Yes, it can be name of a directory. So what I will do, dir lol, and it came out to be a directory. And inside this directory, there is a file roflmo. When I clicked on it, it got downloaded to my system. So what I will do now, we'll go to the downloads directory. If I do ls, I can see roflmo, right? So cat roflmo. Are you able to understand anything in this file? Whatever you are able to understand in this file, let me know that this line is saying this and this is the what we have to do next. Great. So see what happens is this looks like kind of code which is written, right? So what I will do, I will first check what kind of file it is. For checking what kind of file it is, we'll use the file command, file and the file name. So it says it is an executable file, right? Now, when it says it is an executable file, we'll give it executable permission chmod plus x and the file name, and for executing dot slash roflmo, the file name. So after execution, it gave me the output that find address 0x0856bf to proceed. Now this is your next hint. Okay. See, it looks like a memory address, but we don't have access to the memory of the target machine. What I will do, I will put it here 0x0856 and bf. So what it did, it gave me two directories. The first directory is with the name good luck and it says there is a file which one lol.txt, and inside this file it looks like these are all the usernames: mallows, ps-ox, felix, eagle11, genflux, blorg, right? So these look like usernames, and then the next one says this folder contains the password and there is a file pass.txt. So inside that it is written good job. So maybe this is the password. So we have a list of usernames. and passwords. So I will do what? I will create a file user.txt, put all the usernames, then let's copy the password as well. Nano pass.txt, the password I've pasted. Right, so we have a list of usernames and a password, and we have to find out which username and password combination is working. And for that, what we will do, we'll perform an attack. So we'll use the tool hydra hyphen l user.txt hyphen p for specifying the password file and the IP address 192.168.10.137 and the protocol on which you want to do the attack, SSH. Now let's see what it gives. So it is giving me zero valid password found. That means whatever steps we have taken, whatever things we have done till now, nothing was worth. Because the last step was to find out the username and password, and we were not able to find that out now. So whatever information we have gathered, nothing was of no use. Nothing is of any use now. Okay, so whatever steps we have done, maybe we missed something somewhere. Maybe, right? That can be a reason, right? We missed something. So what I will do, I'll go back. Here, if you read properly, it says this folder contains the password. It is not saying this file contains the password. It says this folder contains the password. Right? Inside this folder, there is only one thing, this file. So the name of this file can be the password. There is nothing else apart from this. So let's check. So this good job is not the password. So we'll remove it. Put pass.txt. Let's do the attack again. Are we able to find out the username and password? Yes. So the username is overflow and password is pass.txt. Now, on which protocol we did the attack? SSH, right? So when we did the attack on SSH, so we have to connect to the target machine through SSH. Now for connecting through SSH, what we have to write a command in SSH. So what is the command to connect to a machine through SSH? So the command for connecting through SSH is SSH space username at IP address .10.137. Yes, and it is asking for password, so pass.txt. Now I'm inside the target machine, and if I write pwd present working directory, so I'm inside the file system. Right, now here let's try to create a directory mkdir, and let's say I'm naming it abc. Cannot create directory, permission denied. If I check the id, so the uid is 1002, user id and group id is 1002. So that means the user using which we are connected to the target machine, that user is a normal user. This user does not have privileges, higher level privileges. Now if you see, this machine also it kicked me out, it logged me out of the system. So what to do now? Let's connect again. and let's do ls. So here we are not able to find out anything, and we don't have permissions to create any directory or anything. So what I will do, I will basically, there is a directory in Linux machines which is with the name tmp. No matter what privileges you have, even if you have the least privileges, even then you will be able to access the tmp directory. Yes. So you will be accessing the tmp directory. So we'll go inside the tmp, and here I can create files. So let's say abc dot txt. So if you do ls, I'm able to create a file with the name abc.txt. So that means I have the privileges, least privileges, but still I'm able to access the tmp directory, right? Now what I want to do is I want to perform privilege escalation, and for privilege escalation I need a piece of code, or I need a way through which I can get the access of root. I can use this machine as a root user, right? Super user. So what we have to do, we have to either write a code by ourselves, right? Or we have to look for some piece of code on the internet which will elevate my privileges from a normal user to a root user. Now what to do? So let's find out the privileges. So if I write sudo hyphen l, right, to find out my privileges, whatever privileges I have, what I can do in this. So for finding out the privileges, we have written sudo hyphen l, and I think we don't have privileges to run sudo, right? So we cannot find out with sudo that what we can do, right? Now if I exit from here, right, and connect again pass.txt, so you will see if I go to temp directory again and I do ls, we created a file abc.txt, it's not there anymore, right? So this is called cron job. So there are cron jobs running in this machine. That cron job will do what? It will basically, it is removing the code, or it is removing the files that we are creating in tmp directory. So first what I will do, I will write find slash hyphen type f hyphen perm 0777 2 greater than dev slash null. Okay, it closed the connection again. So we have to be a bit faster. Find slash hyphen type f hyphen perm 0777 2 greater than dev slash null. Now this command is doing what? Inside the whole file system, it is trying to look for a file having permission 777. That means read, write, and execute for all the users. And if this command gives any error, so that 2 greater than is the sign which is used for error redirection, so that error will be redirected to the null file, it will not be shown to you. So now if you see, it gave me the output. So roflmao and lol.pcat, these are the files we have already seen, but there is a file, it shows cleaner.py. So let's open that. Nano slash lib slash log slash cleaner.py. Now, after opening this, we can see there is a code running, and that code is removing rm space hyphen r slash tmp asterisk. Whatever is written inside the tmp file, remove that code. So we don't want that. So I have deleted the code. Now, whatever you will save in the tmp will stay there. Then I will create a file here, test.c, and I'll write a piece of code, int main set gid as 0, set uid as 0, and system, I want the access of /bin/bash. So in Linux, the UID and GID, user ID and group ID of root user is 0. So that's why in the code I have written set UID as 0, GID as 0. Yes. Now when I have written set UID and GID as 0, right? If I execute this file directly, nothing will happen. It will not change. But if the root user executes this file for me, then it may work. Now, if you remember, we opened a file cleaner.py. Who was executing this file? The root user was executing this file. The root user, for the security reasons, has written a rule that this cleaner.py will be executed as the root user, and then it will remove every single thing inside the tmp directory, right? So I will take the advantage of this cleaner.py. Before that, we will compile the code gcc test.c -o, and let's say we name it exploit, right? We have created an object out of this test.c. Whenever you will call the object exploit, it will call the code which is written in test.c and execute that code, right? Now nano slash lib slash log slash cleaner.py. Now after opening this, I can see here os.system, the code which we have removed. Instead of that, we will write some other code. chown root colon root, right? We'll give the ownership of the exploit file which we have created to the root user, and os.system chmod 4777/tmp/exploit, right? So I have given the ownership of the exploit file to the root user and executable permissions to everyone, so anyone can execute it. Now as you can see, it logged me out, and the cleaner.py file will be executed only when it logs us out. Now if I write pass.txt, go to tmp directory and do ls space -la, so the exploit file is still with the user overflow, right? nano slash lib slash log slash cleaner.py dot slash exploit. So we'll have to wait for a while, right? Once it logs us out again, then it will make me the root user. The privilege escalation, which is vertical privilege escalation, it will do, right? So let's wait for it to log us out, and then we'll run the exploit file, and let's see if it gives us the root access. No, till now we don't have root privileges. We are moving towards root. So while it is finding out, while it is logging us out, so let's start with the other topic. So social engineering. Now when we talk about about social engineering, it is a term which is used to describe the manipulation or the convincing that manipulates human psychology to gain unauthorized access to systems, data, or physical location. So instead of exploiting technical vulnerabilities, attackers they trick the individuals into revealing sensitive information or performing actions that compromise the security. Right? So if we talk about, let's say, social engineering, so we call it hacking the human. Right? Now attackers they use this social engineering a lot. They use this technique a lot, right, to gather the information out of the users and then taking the access. Now there are different things that happen in social engineering, like typo squatting means attackers they register look-alike domain names or they purchase look-alike domains so that they can trick the users into clicking into the emails, right? So rather than Google, I register for a domain G00GLE. And if I send an email to you, so you will think that it is Google. Google is sending you an email and you will click on the link which is provided. Yes. So that is typo squatting. Attackers registering a domain which looks like an original one. Then watering hole attack. Watering hole attack means a kind of supply chain attack where you are basically attacking the target via some other organization. So let's say if I want to attack InfosecTrain and InfosecTrain is taking the services from a local cloud vendor, let's say ABC. So I will attack the cloud vendor and through cloud I can move towards the data of InfosecTrain, right? That is watering hole attack. Then there is dumpster diving. Dumpster diving means going through the trash of someone and finding out the information. So if I'm going through the trash of someone, so maybe credit card receipts, expense reports, phone numbers, printed emails, access codes, calendars, network or application diagrams, organizational charts, many things, even passwords or names you can find out, right? Because many people they dump the data and they don't know how much it may harm, right? So that is one of the thing that we do. Then we have piggybacking and tailgating, right? Piggybacking means that the authorized person, there is an authorized person, you don't have access to the organization, you don't have the access to your access card to go inside the organization. So I arrived and I punched my card and opened the gates for you. So that is piggybacking. Tailgating means that I am not aware that you are an unknown user, right, and you are standing behind me. So what you will do, you will punch down your card, right? Like I will punch down my card, the door will open. As I pass through the door, you also pass through it. That is tailgating, where authorized person is not aware that someone is following him or her, right? Then we have phishing. Phishing is mostly used by the attackers, right? What phishing does, it refers to an attempt to steal sensitive information in the form of usernames, passwords, credit card numbers, bank account information, or other important data in order to utilize or sell the stolen information, right? So by masquerading as a reputable source within the request, the attacker lures the victim in order to trick them, right? And it is done over emails only, right? Whenever you're talking about phishing, it is always email. So you will click, attackers will send you the emails, you will click on those emails and done. Perfect. Next we have is wishing. Wishing means voice over phishing, right? Voice over phishing means that someone is basically calling you, acting as a bank employee, acting as a person higher available, like a reputed person, right? And then that person is basically asking you the questions, right? So let's say someone is calling you and saying that I'm talking from this bank, ABC Bank, and your credit card has been disabled. So for enabling it, we need your credit card number, its CVV and expiry date. There will be an OTP sent to you. You have to confirm that OTP to us, and then we will enable your credit card. That is kind of phishing calls that you receive, right? So these are the social engineering methods that are used by pentesters also, well, when they are doing the red team assessment, and it is used by attackers also a lot, right? Now next thing that we have discussed few things. Now next thing we have is the interview questions, right? So the very first interview question is, what is the difference between vulnerability assessment, penetration test, and red team? So these are the three different approaches. Vulnerability assessment does what? Vulnerability assessment, it identifies security weaknesses in the system, applications, and networks, and it uses tools like NISIS, Qualys, OpenVAS to scan for known vulnerabilities. So it detects vulnerabilities but does not exploit them. Penetration testing simulate real world attacks to exploit vulnerabilities, right? So in pen testing, we use tools like Metasploit, Burpsuit, and Map to actively test security defenses. And it goes beyond detection to demonstrate the impact of the vulnerability. And red team assessment, it emulates advanced persistent threats. To test an organization's security response, uses social engineering, security, physical security testing, right? And the depth is realistic. So it mimics actual cyber attacks to assess the security operations of the organization. Then next question, how do you exfiltrate data during pen test quietly? So data exfiltration, it requires stealthy techniques to avoid the detection by the firewalls or intrusion detection systems or security monitoring tools, right? So either you can use some covert channels. So you will use legitimate protocols like HTTP, HTTPS to disguise the exfiltration, right? You are sending data through ping packets using ICMP tunneling. So you will use tools like ptunnel, Loki, right, to help using covert channels, right? Cloud storage abuse, so you can upload data to Google Drive, OneDrive, Dropbox using encrypted archives. You can send data, encrypted data through Gmail, right? Through USB, you can copy data to USB drives, or you can use VPN tunnels to encrypt and exfiltrate data. So these are the different ways of exfiltrating the data. Then next question is, describe an attack path to compromise the domain admin. So compromising a domain admin in the Active Directory environment, you have to follow a structured attack path, right? So first you can do phishing attack. So attacker can send a phishing email address to the employee, tricking them into running malware. Or if there is any unpatched software or misconfiguration to get the access of the account, then you will do privilege escalation. So exploiting vulnerabilities to local administrator, then dumping the credentials using tools like Mimikatz to extract the hashes, right? Then you will do lateral movement. So use the compromised credentials to access other machines, right? Then dump the Active Directory database, extract the database of the Active Directory to retrieve all the domain credentials, right? And then once you have all the domain credentials, then you can move to the admin, take the access of the admin, or you can log in as the admin. Then next question is, what is server side request forgery vulnerability? So whenever this question is asked, see, you cannot show practically during the interview, right? You can, so you have to tell it very properly that server-side request forgery, it is a vulnerability that allows the attacker to manipulate a server into making unintended requests. So it can lead to unauthorized access to internal systems, sensitive data exposure, or remote code execution. So what attacker does, attacker modifies a request sent to the server, tricks the user into fetching data from internal, or tricks the server into fetching data from internal or external sources. So the server blindly trusts the request and retrieve information from restricted areas. So it can expose the internal services, cloud metadata, or sensitive configurations. Then next question is, what steps would you take if you gain unauthorized access to a system during a pen test? If you gain unauthorized access during pen test, it is crucial to follow ethical guidelines and professional protocols, right? So do not explore beyond the agreed scope, avoid making unauthorized changes or extracting sensitive data, record how access was gained, right? Note the timestamps, affected systems, and commands used. Inform the organization, security team, or point of contact immediately. Provide the clear details about the unauthorized access and determine if the access could lead to data breaches, privilege escalation, or system compromise, right? Recommend the patching vulnerabilities, updating the security policies, or improving the access controls. So you have to give the remediation steps as well. Next question is, how do you perform privilege escalation in a penetration test? So privilege escalation, it involves gaining higher level access to the system by exploiting vulnerabilities or misconfiguration. So first you have to identify the user rules, permissions, and running services, right? You can exploit the misconfiguration, weak file permission, sudo misconfiguration. You can do credential dumping, dump the credential of the admin and log in as admin. You can find out the exploits, the kernel based exploits, operating system exploits, right, to perform the privilege escalation. Then next we have, how would you test a login page for security vulnerabilities? So testing a login page for security vulnerabilities, it is crucial to make sure that user authentication is secure and resistant to attacks, right? So you will check for SQL injection vulnerabilities, input validation, right? Whether uh, your login page is checking the input given by the user or not, right? Then you will test for brute force protection, right? So if attacker uh, tries multiple passwords, attacks with multiple passwords, so if account lockout is there or not, whether the account is logging you out uh, like after multiple failed attempts or not, right? Then you can look for access control and privilege escalation also. Login bypass using direct URL access or role based access control misconfigurations can be there, right? So you will test for that. So these are the things that you can test in the login page. Then the last question is, how do you handle false positive in a web application pen testing, right? So handling false positive is crucial to make sure accurate security assessment is there and avoid wasting the resources on non-existent vulnerabilities. So cross-check the findings using multiple tools like Burp Suite, WhatsApp, Nessus, manually test the vulnerabilities to confirm the exploitability, analyze the logs to verify if the issue is genuinely a security risk, right? So you have to basically test those vulnerabilities, exploit those vulnerabilities manually. Now, the last thing that we have is for the career growth. So for career growth, first thing, choosing a right certification, right? So if you are a person who is starting into the offensive side of the security and you don't have any idea, the very first thing, build your networking skills and Linux skills. Once you are good with networking and Linux, all the protocols and how everything works, then you can move for CH. CH is the certification which is certified ethical hacker and good for the people who are aiming or who are starting in the pen test field. Once you are done with the CH, then keep on solving uh, your like labs, right? Like try hack me, hack the box labs, right? And then prepare for higher level certifications like OSCP. So OSCP stands for Offensive Security Certified Professional, and this is a certification which is 100% practical, and it gives you the idea about network, Active Directory, and web application pen test. So you have to solve the machines in 24 hours. It is a 24-hour exam, right? Solve the machines and you will get this certification. After this certification, it is very renowned in the pen testing world, so you'll get a good job after this. Then from GPEN is also certification from the organization GIAC. Now this is a certification which is basically for pen testing in enterprise environments, and it gives you the idea into the pen testing domains, right? And it basically tests your knowledge into the higher level of pen testing. It is same level of kind of OSCP, right? But it is from different organization. Now, if you are a person like who wants to take certification for a job in kind of Middle East, so in Middle East, these certifications from GIAC, they are strongly recommended. Then after that, after doing certification, like while you're doing certification, you have to include GitHub projects, labs like try hack me, hack the box, blogs, walkthroughs of CTFs, right? So you can keep everyone in the picture. Like everyone should know that you are a person who is a part of offensive security, who is learning offensive security, right? And then stay active on LinkedIn, join cybersecurity communities, Discord, Reddit, and attend local international conferences that happen widely, like B-sides or from OWASP you can join, right? So these are the places which you can join, right? So that's how you can grow your career into the offensive side of the security. So when we are talking about unauthorized access, right? So if you get the unauthorized access, it means that you are getting the access of the system without any credentials, right? Without any permissions, right? So what you will do, you will basically record everything, what steps you took, how you exploited the vulnerability to the to find to get the authorized unauthorized access, and timestamp you will write the affected systems, the commands used, everything will be documented, and that document will be submitted to the point of contact or the security team of the organization for which you are doing the pen test, right? False positives in web application you can remove only by performing the exploit manually. So check, like you have done vulnerability assessment using a tool. Now after the tool has like you have done vulnerability assessment, so the vulnerability assessment tool will give that this is the vulnerability in your web application. Now that can be a false positive also. So for testing that, you have to check whether that false positive is exploitable, like whether it is a false positive or not, right? So open that vulnerability, try to exploit it. If it is exploitable, then it's not a false positive, otherwise it is a false positive. So that's how you will find out false positives.